Now, just before I get you to actually try mixing two tracks together, you need to understand a little about beats, bars, and phrases. See, music is divided into lots of little sections. These sections are called beats, bars, and phrases. I want you to think of it like this. Think of a book or a piece of literature. A single letter in that book would be equivalent to a beat. A single word would be equivalent to a bar, and the whole phrase would be equivalent to a sentence. In music, this is the way we think about our tracks, and this is the way we structure it. Now, in almost all popular music, including house, techno, drum and bass, pop, R&B, and any other primarily electronic genres, there usually is 4 beats per bar and 8 bars per phrase. Let me repeat that. There are 4 beats per bar and 8 bars per phrase. Important to write that down if you can. Now, if you take a look at the waveform display, and I'll actually transition to record books for a moment because it's easier for me to demonstrate. The beginning of a bar should have a red line going through it, and the remaining 3 beats in the bar should have white vertical lines going through them. Remember, there are 4 beats per bar, so the red line indicates the first beat in the bar, and the 3 white lines indicate the remaining 3 beats in the bar. Now, when it comes to phrases, there isn't really an accurate direct representation on a waveform display, but it's very easy to learn how to identify them yourself, and we'll get to that throughout the course. Now, this is important because when you're transitioning from one track to the next, you need to make sure that you synchronize the position of the tracks so that the beats, bars, and phrases correlate on both tracks. This means that as you're playing one of your tracks, this is your master track, the one that's going out to your audience, whenever a new phrase starts on this track, a new phrase has to begin on your incoming track as well. So the phrases and the beats and the bars are perfectly in sync with each other. Now, let's see how to apply this in practice. We're going to start with a very simple practice method, and I'll show you every single step you've got to take from the very beginning. Step 1, you're going to load the track on both decks. So what you've got to do if you're using standalone decks is plug in your USB memory stick and then tap browse or push the browse button if you're on a full-size deck. Navigate to your playlists, pick the playlist that we created, and you need to be pressing this rotary knob in order to actually go into the playlist. And when you're there, push it again to load the track. You're going to do the same thing on your other deck. So I'm going to go to another track in the playlist, push the rotary knob, and it loads that track. Now the first step, when you've loaded the tracks, must always be to match the BPM. So I'm going to move the tempo slider here to get this BPM number to be the same as the BPM number on my other deck. This will ensure the tracks play back at the same speed like I showed you in the previous video. Now, once you've matched the BPM, the next step is setting your cue point. Now, I haven't explained what a cue point is yet, so let me briefly do that. A cue point is represented with an orange little triangle at the bottom of the waveform overview, and it lets you know basically where the track is going to start playing from when you press the play button. It's kind of like the cue for the track to come in. Now you can move this cue to wherever you like in the track. And the way you do this is you can either double tap the play button. So you press play and then you pause it. And when I paused it, notice how this line, it's called the playhead or the needle. This is where my track position is. It turned red. So before it was white, double tap the play button, it turns red. Now I'm able to adjust or move the jog wheel to wherever I want in the track. And as soon as I push the cue button, it's going to set my cue point to wherever the playhead was. Now, a couple more little tips about this. When you are in this search mode, let's say you want to set your cue point, in other words, the starting point of your track, somewhere later on, you can, in the later decks, which are touchscreen, actually touch on the waveform and navigate to wherever you like. Then when you're close, you can nudge the jog wheel to refine your position and push the Q button. Also, when the track is in playback mode, so when the track is playing, when you push the Q button, then it doesn't set a new cue point. It simply takes you back to your existing cue point. So once you've matched the BPM, set your cue point to the first beat of the track. So you can see here we've got some empty beats and there is a straight line with no waveform whatsoever. And we can see that the actual music, the waveform, begins over here. And thankfully the deck has already set the cue point for me, which makes my life easier. But if it hadn't, if the cue point was there for whatever reason, I would have to double tap the play button, move to where the first beat is, and push the cue button. Now, once you've done this, then it's time to start practicing counting the beats, bars, and phrases within a track. Now, I'm gonna demonstrate very quickly how I want you to count, and then I'll explain why I count in this way. So I'm gonna press play, and I'm gonna start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, 4, 8, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, 4, 8, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now just to clarify, what I'm counting here is the number of bars followed by the remaining 3 beats in the bar. So when I'm saying 1, 2, 3, 4, the number 1 is bar 1 in my phrase. The 2, 3, 4 is bar 1, beat 2, bar 1, beat 3, bar 1, beat 4. Then I go to bar 2, so I'm going 2, 2, 3, 4. Letting me know that's the beginning of bar 2, and then the beats in bar 2. Then I go 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, all the way to bar 8. And on bar 8, once I finished the count, so 8, 2, 3, 4, I go back to bar 1 because that's when a new phrase begins. If you recall from a few minutes ago, I mentioned how there are 4 beats per bar and 8 bars per phrase. Now also, if you have a keen ear, you would have noticed that when I got back to bar 1 after I counted the first phrase, something changed in the music. There was a new impact that introduced the new phrase. Also, when I got to the beginning of phrase 3, again, something changed. All the heavy drums disappeared, and then the piano came in fully. So there's always indicators within your tracks that will let you know when a new phrase begins. All you need to do is catch the start of it, start counting the beats and bars, and when you get to bar 8, repeat your count. Now, I should mention, if you've sidetracked and you're practicing these techniques in something like pop or R&B music, they still conform to the 8 bar per phrase structure, but sometimes the intros are cut short to 2 or 4 bars so as to make the tracks a bit shorter to be friendlier for radio play. So just bear that in mind. That's why I recommend sticking to house or techno or minimal for now, or the tracks that we've given you access to through the materials section, because it's easier to learn how to count the beats, bars, and phrases, and everything else we're going to do before we get into other genres of music. Now, once you've practiced pressing play on some tracks and simply counting the phrase, the next step is to start introducing your next track. So I'm going to give you a quick example of how to do that now. First, I'm going to press play on track 1. I'm going to count 1 phrase, and when I get to bar 1 of my second phrase, I'm going to press play on track 2. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, 4, 8, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, 4, 8, 2, 3, 4, 1. And again, you may have noticed how on both tracks, something changed in the arrangement at the exact same time, one phrase after I pressed the play button. So quick recap, match the BPM, cue the track on the first beat of the music, press play on track 1, count the beats and bars in the phrase. When you get to bar 1 of the second phrase, press play on track 2. Now, if you've gotten to this point, well done. You're already well on your way to becoming a great DJ. And in the next video, we're going to look at beat matching, which is the most crucial skill a DJ needs to have. See you there.